After all these years, now we know why they call this a love seat.
Yeah.
My phone is on it. It's on the table over there.
We need to turn it off, huh?
Or just to,
Put it on silent.
in case it rings, you know.
Oh, well, I turned out. Nobody calls me. So
Yeah.
You just use it for Facebook, huh?
that's it.
Yeah, my friends even. All one of them. Just one. And he's not available, so.
All right, we're recording? We are recording. Okay, so we are here doing a recording for the Library of Congress.
Wow.
And I am really honored to be with John Anthony Parfait and Miss Virginia Alice Billiot. And we are in New Orleans, also known as Bulbuncha. And today is December 28th, 2022. So can you please tell us what your name is and where we are? Maybe we can start with you.
My name is Virginia Alice Billiot, and we're here in New Orleans, Louisiana.
And your name, sir?
And my name is John Anthony Parfait. You don't want nicknames, so.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh, wow.
Well, you can share them.
The people where I'm from, Dulac, they call me Yo, Y-O. And I never did like that name very much. My stepmother used to say that I was the one who wanted that name, and I couldn't figure out why. And then when I became a minister, I preached against nicknames. You know, I blamed Brother Nick. I said, you know why they call me Yo? Because they think I'm half of a yo-yo. So, but that's what they call me. And some people kind of treated me better. They called me Yogi. You know, when Boo Boo and Yogi came along, they started calling me Yogi. That felt a little bit better. And no matter how I try down the bayou, you have to ask for that name.
Yo.
Yo. And the name Anthony, I don't use it much. I use my Navy name, John. I like John. Everything in New Orleans, Dr. John, you know, and so and so. Oh, I love John. John is good. That's me.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for speaking with us today. And I'm curious about Dulac. Are both of you? Can you tell us where you were born and what that place is like?
I was born in Dulac. I was delivered by what you call them, wife?
Midwife.
Midwife. And I lived there all my life until we moved to Tennessee for 24 years. And now I'm back in New Orleans. And all of my family is still in Dulac. And those that are there, my children are scattered. They're in different part of the country. But that's a lot of vacation time.
And what did your family do for a living in Dulac when you were young?
My dad, they would cut sugar canes and fish, and that's about all they did at that time.
And what about you? Where were you born and raised? And
I'm grateful I was born here in New Orleans. I was born here at Charity Hospital here in New Orleans. Unfortunately, my mother died the day I was born. And they said I was so small they could put me in a cigar box. I don't know if that meant I was premature or not. But I was fortunate. I had one of my uncles that took me, helped my dad. My dad had 9 other children. And she was only 34 years old when she died, my mother. And I was in the hospital for about 14 days, and then they took me down to Dulac, and that's where I lived until I joined the Navy at the age of 19 years old. And but I was blessed. They did a good job raising me. And I never forget my stepmother sitting me on a chair and telling me about the Almighty God. And that never left me. And I think that was the biggest thing she ever did for me. You know, she cooked well, you know, and she really cared about me a lot. She whipped me a few times, you know, but she kept me straight. And I really appreciate their care. My uncle, he showed me a lot of things, you know. His name was John Parfait also. His middle name was Albert, John Albert Parfait. And he did everything. He fished, he hunt, he planted garden. We had food on the table all the time. You know, he loved to kill rabbit, I ate rabbit. He killed raccoon, I'd eat raccoon. You know, anything he brought in, fish, crab, you name it, all from the garden. He was a blessing to me. And he was kind to me, very kind to me. And my dad lived about 4 houses up from him with the other kids, and it was kind of very difficult because they were nice to me, but they were like friendly strangers, you know, who never became like brothers and sisters until just now, so to speak, you know, in the last few years as we were older. But we lived in the same neighborhood all the time. And then when I went in the Navy, I was in the Navy for 4 years. I came back. I spent almost 32 months, not almost, I did spend 32 months in the Far East, straight without coming home. Spent a year in California before that. And I came back, and there she was, still waiting. And we started our family about 3 months later. And our first child was born in '67. And we've had 7 since then. Recently, about a year ago, I don't like to use the word loss, but our youngest son passed away. And you know, it was hard on us. But all our children was good to us, and then he was good to us. He was something. He was like a chef at 13 years old. You know, he could do. He learned how to carve. Never said a word, but he learned how to carve. He learned how to paint by just watching me. You know, he was some kind of a genius. You know. And our oldest son, well, he lives in Gainesville, Florida. He played music with his dad, played the bass. And all our other daughters, they are all talented, you know, and do different things. And Sherry, she's really something, you know. But that's basically it. Yeah.
Well, there's more there, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot hidden.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hold a horse, you know.
Have y'all known each other all your lives, or?
Pretty much so.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We she was Methodist. I was Catholic, but the Methodists built a community center just across the street from where she lived. And most of the young guys, that's where they went to find girls, you know. And they had a lot of girls there all the time. And one of these days, she looked at me with those marble-looking eyes. It was like marbles. And I was a fanatic for marbles, so that was it. I saw the marbles in her eyes, and I was sold. And even though I went away that long, when I came back, she was still there. And she's been here all that while. She is something. Oh, I have to write a book about her one day.
Can y'all tell us about what Dulac was like when you were young? And I'm not sure if you get to go to visit there often now, but can you tell us a little bit about what it was like and how maybe it's changed and what you know of it today?
Well, it did change an awful lot. It's not the same as when we were growing up there. And to me, we all got along real good together. You know, the children played together, and our moms would babysit for each other, you know, and it was nice. We just got along with everybody, and we just enjoyed life. And at the time, we didn't go very far. I mean, we just stayed around our area, but it was all right. Our parents were very good to us, and they provided for us. And we didn't have a lot of extras, but we enjoyed what we had, and we were very thankful that they brought us in as good people. You didn't hear much about people breaking into your house or anything. We could leave our doors unlocked, all the
Yeah.
time, and open up our windows. And the kids around just got along real good, and nobody was doing a lot of the stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, that's true. To me, Dulac was a beautiful place back then, way back then. I'm a nature freak, and I think my mom prayed for me that I would have the gift of self-contentment. So I was content looking at the grass, looking at plants, looking at the birds, looking at the fish, the crabs, everything that was there. I used to marvel at the pelicans, how huge they were back then. They would just come down the bayou and they would just land like airplanes, and they would dive and they would splash, make a big splash. Man, I was excited. That's Batman for me. But the beauty of the place was oh my God, just took my breath away. My Uncle John, he took me out in pirogues in the swampy areas, and in the bayou areas, and the oak trees they were humongous. They were at least 150 feet tall, sometimes 200 feet tall. And the moss curtains would hang down 30, 40 feet down. I mean, everywhere. And there was this one tree I fell in love with. It's called the Yipon holly. It was plentiful. They were everywhere. Just red berries, beautiful red berries. And my God, I just love looking at those. You cut in the morning, sunrise, and you're coming down the bayou, and the sun is hitting. These red berries are just shining everywhere. And then you have the palmetto, and oh my God, you had all kinds of different plants. And it was just amazing. And the birds, all kinds of birds. And the thing that was most beautiful to me about that beauty was one Christmas, my uncle decided he was going to get a holly tree for the Christmas tree for the house. And he had a little boat, maybe about 20 foot long. And he was a trapper, and he knew the terrain. But he spent Christmas Eve going down to buy, well, I mean, way down. It was way, way down. Cut down a holly tree, loaded it in the boat by himself. He has to stand up to steer it back home. And he told me that's what he was going to do. So I'm standing on the wharf, had a little bitty tiny wharf, waiting for him to come home. And I see this little boat coming, and it's got berries all over the place. And he comes, ties up to the dock, and nobody knows how to get it out of the boat without losing berries. Well, I didn't want to lose one, He comes in, but finally he got some help getting the tree down. And he when he got it down, he brought it into the house. Well, I could hear my stepmother, they're going to be all over the floor. That's not good, And I'm there, don't worry about it. Anyway, he set it up. And then my stepsister, well, he got her some special money. You go to town and get some special globes, they call them globe bulbs to put in the tree, decorate the tree. And then they went and got some bulbs. They came back, decorated, and then he had this little tradition. He'd get a little shot glass, put you a little bit of gin and one cherry in there for Christmas tree, to celebrate the tree. My, what love. My God, I still remember that. And I'm still trying to paint red berries. I started painting one down at the bottom there. It doesn't show yet, but that's my life's ambition, to be able to paint a painting that shows those holly trees. What a crazy idea, one dot at a time to try to make it look like berries. But it's the love in there that I remember about this whole thing. The bayou. People were like that. They would do stuff that kept the community together. This love that they had for one another. Like when he'd go hunting ducks, they would share. They would go kill a lot of ducks. You know, they didn't have these limits in those days. They would come back like with 200 ducks and then pass them on to each other, you know. And oh my God, and the roads were all gravel roads. And for me to go see her, well, there was the time of Jerry Lee Lewis, you know, piano man Jerry Lee Lewis. I wear white shoes in those muddy roads and walk with long hair, walk to go see my Virginia. And by the time I get over there, my shoes are all muddy and everything. I got to clean them up. But every weekend, I'd wear my white shoes to go down up the road, you know, until I got a bicycle. But the bayou was awesome. Flowers everywhere, you know, bulrushes everywhere. The wind would blow, you could hear them rattle like it was a train passing through town, you know. And like she said, everybody got along. You could sleep at night with your window open if you could handle the mosquitoes. The only unfriendly thing on the bayou was the mosquitoes.
I love that story about the Yopon holly tree and Christmas. That's really
Beautiful, yeah, it's a beautiful story.
Yeah. And I've heard that you both have a love of birds and special gifts of working with wood. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of art that you create and how you were introduced to it, and yeah, just kind of anything you'd like to share about that
You want to go
journey?
first?
No, you go first.
Oh, wow. I tell you, my dad, my real dad, he was a wood worker. He loved wood. He built houses, not a whole lot. They were small houses, but he loved to do carpentry work. And he was, I think, between him and Roy Parfait, my cousin, they were just neck and neck who was the most influential to get me to wood carve. I'll go with my dad first. My dad sat me down one day. He wasn't a very talkative guy, but my friend Roy got this book at the library showing all this beautiful wood. So I thought, well, maybe I could get my dad to talk. You know, bring this wood book to his house. I brought this wood book to his house, and after Roy and I went to one wood carving show, we saw a lot of ducks. So I told my dad about the ducks, you know, and boy, it worked. It just triggered him. He said he knew a guy named Mr. Berg who could carve a duck and do this wood burning, and he was getting $500 for this duck. My mind went cha-ching right off the bat. That was a motivator right there. But the most beautiful thing is that he said to me, he said something that really just was, just stood in me and just still there. He said, he used a French term. He said, if you want to do something like that, he said, you have to become an ouvrier. An ouvrier is a master craftsman. In other words, you have to give real strong attention to what you're doing. You have to love it. You have to study it. You have to correct all mistakes. He said you have to do it right. You know, you have to do it right. He said, and he said, then you're going to be known as an ouvrier. And he said, then maybe you can ask for those kind of prices. I said, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to be able to sell something at a big price. I want to be able to have people say, look at the ouvrier. I've been carving now for about, 40-something years. For the first time in my life, I heard the lady that's in charge of the Division of the Arts in Louisiana. She was talking to me about doing a wood carving workshop, and she said, we're going to pay the master what he wants. That was the fulfillment of those words that my dad gave me. But Roy Parfait was my cousin. He seemed to have his nose in everything. You know, he's a connoisseur, like they say. You know, he knows a lot of stuff. I'm a daydreamer. If I got to study something, I just want to fall asleep. You could bore me real easy. You know, when I was in school, I failed almost everything. I'd fall asleep. And then one of my teachers caught that, and he gave me a project to do. He wanted me to paint a picture of every president. Didn't have to do any homework. That's all I had to do is, in my sublime state of mind, all I had to do was do this. And I did it. I painted every president, and he just still passed me because he saw my talent. And I was only about maybe 13 years old when I did that. But that was another thing. And my cousin would say, look, man, you're so talented. Everybody say you're so talented. What do you mean you're so talented? Well, it's a gift from God. And I learned this. Talent is nothing unless you have a desire. Nobody is born with talent. You develop talent from a desire. If you have a desire for beauty, you know, like the Christmas tree and all this stuff, that desire is going to bring the talent out of you to do that and do this. And I became interested in the wood carving by this desire. I love the smell of wood. My God, it smells good sometimes. I like the feel of wood when you carve it. I like the feel of wood when you sand it. I like the wood burning, even the smell of the smoke when she's wood burning, and the painting. Yeah, you know, the beauty of the colors, everything. But my friend Roy, he was just unbelievable. He seemed to be able to find avenues of marketing, you know, everywhere he went. Like he had a Midas type of hand, you know. And yet he claimed he didn't have the talent, but yet he could sell stuff. And he bought probably more of the stuff I made than anybody else, and sold more of my stuff than anybody else. And he just kept that going, you know. He kept me from losing that desire, and therefore saving the talent. And then sometimes him and I would have a little fight. Look at you, you're a failure, you know. And then I got him to come to Nashville one day. He said, yo, that's what he called it. You can do anything. Well, I took that and I put it in my bottle, you know, put a cap on it. I want to save that one. Because that's a compliment I got from my friend who really got me started. We started carving together. We took lessons from the best Cherokee carvers that Cherokee, North Carolina had. The Methodist Church, the pastor there, he was pastor of the church and director of the community center. He got in touch with the Cherokees from North Carolina, got them to come down and do a wood carving workshop, which we were a part of. One was Bill Crow. He was master wood carver from Cherokee, North Carolina. The other one was even a greater master wood carver. His name was G.B. Chitalski, and he would build Hollywood sets. You know, he was such a great craftsman. He would build Hollywood sets, and wow, he was awesome. And each one had different type of lessons to apply. You know, Bill Crow showed you how to carve without cutting yourself, which was a big, big lesson. G.B. Chitalski taught you how to carve by not doing it too much. You know, he said you can do it too much. If there's a time that the work has to rest, you know. Wow, that was another big lesson. And by learning that, you learn how to enjoy it. You know, we've done that. There were seasons where we didn't want to do it at all, right? You know, what we're going to do, what we like to do best, hit the road. We're road runners. Road runners, we like to travel. But that's what wood carving means to me. I just, it's been a blessing. There's a lot to say about wood carving. But I've done some workshop myself for the Jefferson Parish School Board. I did one workshop, two workshops. I did some for the Terrebonne Parish School Board, a couple of workshops, then a summer camp workshop, summer camp for Jefferson, and did some very challenging things like teaching young kids. I mean, I had some in my class that were 10 years old. Some were 16, between that age. And I remember having to really grapple with the school boards about, are you going to justify spending this money? What are you going to do? I said, well, I tell you what, I have a goal. And my goal is to make sure that those kids in 1 week can carve a piece of wood and make it saleable. They'll be able to sell it. And out of 67 kids, if we can get 5 or 6, so that's good enough for you, they said if you can get 1, it's good enough for me. And we got 7 kids, the first workshop, to make something that was saleable. And one of them carved a duck with the head up for $100. And I developed this idea to have people from the community who were interested in art to come and judge the graduation, so to speak, and also ask them if they would kindly consider appraising the craft and buying something, which motivated the students. And I did it by surprise to the students. Didn't tell them we were going to do this. So we had people come in, and then I would set them up. I would say, how much do you think your pieces are worth? And I remember this one girl said, in palmetto weaving, she said, about $5. And here comes a lady appraising it for 20. Another lady appraised it for 100, and she bought it for 100. This just blew their minds. And the kind of workshops I do now, I expect those kind of results. I'm not going to teach you something and you're not learning it. You have to learn. That's a demand I make right off the bat. If you're not going to commit to learning something and mastering it in this workshop, you're not going to be in my class at all. And I try to say that nicely.
Yeah. No pressure.
which is another challenge.
I'm curious, is it through the Jefferson Parish School Board or Indian Ed, or how were you able to be able to share these workshops?
That was a very, I would say, a godly gift-like thing. God makes ways for things to take place. There was a Native American group, parts of the Houma tribe, who formed a local group. They called it NAHO, Native American Helping Hands Organization. And they were like you guys, doing research. They found out about me, but they wanted me to come to their Title IV Indian education program. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the government gave Indian communities a certain amount of funds for education through Title IV. And I just happened to be chairman of Title IV for Terrebonne Parish. And some of the guys that came and looked me up, they were part of the Title IV organization here in Jefferson. So that's how we got together. And naturally, they wanted to promote Native American culture, Houma Indian culture, and anybody and everybody that wanted to be involved in upgrading the American culture, they were welcome in NAHO. And so I came to their meetings, and I honestly, I didn't know hardly anything about wood carving, and they're asking me to teach it, But I'll accept any challenge. You want me to teach? Or you can teach them how to do what you do. Okay. Even if it looks ugly? Okay.
What year was that? NAHO. In the Title IV when you were involved?
That would have to have been somewhere around 73, 74.
Something like that.
Somewhere in that.
In the 70s, sometime in the 70s.
Yeah, when Jude was born, somewhere around where Jude was born, or 77, maybe when Jude was 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. We did the first workshop. We did it at Fontainebleau State Park. 67 kids. Can you imagine that? In my class. Wow. I've never been a school teacher at anything. With knives. That's the other thing. That was probably the greatest challenge. Mm-hmm. But guess who helped me with that? Bill Crow. He taught you how not to cut yourself. I took his lesson and ingrained it, screwed it in tight, and tied it with a rope. And I'm going to teach those kids how to not to cut themselves. And I said to them, if you don't cut yourself, you'll come up with a nice piece that's saleable. They bought it like ice cream. And it was a camp at the same time, fun camp. And we also included beadwork, also included palmetto weaving, and several other crafts. And the girls, enjoyed the crafts that they were doing, and the guys enjoyed the crafts they were doing. And they played games, and they had campfires at night and discussions. Wow, it was awesome. There was a lady photographer who came to photograph everything, brought her guitar along, and she strummed some tunes every night. It was just a fun camp.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to repeat it.
Yeah.
So next year they came and did it in Dulac. And then after that, then I did one in Terrebonne Parish. And I did about 2 months of teaching in the schools in Terrebonne Parish. And then we did a summer camp at their community center in Dulac. Also, that went well, and wow. And then I hated politics. I still hate politics. That's the last thing I wanted to have anything to do. Politics got involved, and they wanted me to do things which would have been a waste of money. And I said, this is one thing I won't do is waste money. I will not teach kids just for the sake of, for those that will just want to sit there and do nothing. No, if you want to be in my class, you're going to learn something. And I will not take the government's money or anybody's money for someone to just sit there and not learn. So basically, that's how that went down.
Yeah. And we've, of course, been talking with a lot of elders and hearing stories about education and how, there was not easy access to education for lots of folks. And so just wondering, hearing this story about you as a 13-year-old boy and having a teacher that says, hey, you're not going to stay awake, do something,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just, if you could share a little bit about the schools that were in Dulac when you were young, and how that influenced your community and yourselves.
You first. You're smarter than I am.
No. It's oh my. We had schools that was built for Indians, and we were the only people going to that school. But they tried to bring other kids from the bayou, the whole bayou, but a lot of the people didn't want to mix with us. Like the whites, and even the blacks didn't want to mix with us. And a lot of them would say, well, it's because the bridge, you'd had to cross the bridge. And I thought that was kind of silly, but they just didn't want to mix with us. So we had a whole bunch of kids anyway. That school was full, I'm sure. And we had in our community center, that's when we were going to school there for a while until we got transferred to the other school across the street from us.
And that was their church, the Methodist church, that did all that. They were very active in supporting the Indian community. And they were the Methodists, and so that they were apart from the other parts. The Catholics, they didn't have much for recreation and stuff like that. And they might have had a little catechism once in a while, but the Methodists invested some money in building a community center and a church for those her community. And they brought them an education that was different than everybody else because it involved Christ, and that was a blessing to them, to their community. And of course, later on, drew us there, They got us to go square dancing over there. We weren't squares. But the girls were pretty,
Did you go to the Methodist school too, or you?
No, I went to public school. Okay. Well, I did start the Methodist school. Uh, the blessing they had first was a missionary that came, an elderly lady named Miss Hooper from New York, and she started all that.
She was from Alexandria. That's where
Really?
Yeah, Alexandria, Louisiana.
Well, that's news to me. Well,
Yeah, that's where
well,
they
that's
were.
good to know. I
They
thought
were
she was from New York, where all of the Methodists are from.
No, no.
Well, anyway, she was a missionary, and she came down and they built her like a mansion type house, and it was to us. To her, it probably was just a regular house. But she came down and she was bold. She was very, very bold. Started a school in her house, And so they invited little Catholic kids like myself to go.
What year would have that been? What year was that? Around what year?
Oh,
was
wow. That would have had to have been,
In the late 50s, I guess.
I must have been
early
49.
50s, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I was born in 43. This would have been in 49, something like that.
Okay, and what was her name again?
Wilhelmina Hooper.
Hooper. Yeah, right. She was a big factor for Dulac.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Everybody loved her.
yeah, everybody but me. And the only reason is my cousin and I we went to school day one at Miss Hooper's school. So we're sitting down. I don't know if you call it a lunch break or not, but we had one hard biscuit that we brought. That was lunch, And she handed out some yellow pencils, the regular school pencils, and some of the parents bought some, So my cousin, he's telling me, and we're talking about pencils. He says to me, he said the rats ate his erasers at his house. He said the rats ate my eraser. And I said, oh, so that's what happened to mine. I said, mine broke it. Maybe the rats ate mine. Boy, next thing you know, she come, bang, slap me behind the head, and she slaps him behind the head, and she comes with a pencil and a paper and make a number 8. Sit there. And doesn't tell us why. So for an hour's time until we couldn't go anymore, making a number 8, Now I'm not only a yo anymore, I'm an 8 ball. But anyway, I'm making this number 8. And so when I got home, I'm like, what did you learn? I said, I learned the number 8. That's for sure. Then I told her what happened. Oh, you're not going back to that school. I was going to go back, but she didn't want it. And we don't want nobody to be hitting on our children, And I don't know to this day how it got her mad. She was a disciplinarian. And hey, we were just talking in class, Me and my cousin just talking. So we were bad guys right off the bat. And I don't know if he went back, but I never went back. But fortunately for me, the Catholic Church opened up a school. There were four rooms, grades 1 through 4. And I started there, and then the local parish government built the school further down, close to where she was at. Oh boy, I get to see my girlfriend now. And we weren't girlfriend, boyfriend, didn't we? I didn't even know you. Okay, I apologize.
Not then.
We started going to that school, regular grade school, and there were good teachers and bad teachers. Like the one I was bored. I was bored with the one that taught arithmetic. But you got me on history, geography, reading. I could read anything, but I didn't like. After arithmetic, ratios, I hated ratios. I hated algebra. I hated all that stuff. So I just didn't pay attention. I failed it. But that's when they gave me the artist job of doing portraits. I can do portraits now because of that. And that's basically how the school we had. And then later on, high school became a reality for some. Well, I beat that by joining the Navy. I finished my GED in the Navy and took some college courses in the Navy. I had the certificate for the high school GED, but I didn't get none for college. But the Navy was a university afloat on the water, I got smart in the Navy. So I came back, she was still there. I was smart enough to, hey, she's still there, I'm gonna grab her. But educational wise, Title IV to me was a big help because it provided some monies for those particular parents who were financially hard hit, and that buying clothes for their kids, dental work for their kids, and stuff like that. We paid for a lot of services like that, which made it much easier for them to attend school. We recognize that if you're not feeling good, you're not going to go to school. If you're not healthy, you're not going to go to school. You can't keep up with the Jones with your clothes. We weren't buying fancy clothes, but get them good shoes, good jeans or whatever the girls need them to. Title IV was a big help. I spent 5 years as chairman of Title IV, and started off, we had a grant like $564,000, and the last grant I signed was $850-something thousand in Terrebonne Parish. It helped me to get over the thing I hated the most about white people. I used to think white people were prejudiced. And I got that from church, because where I went to church, wow, you wouldn't believe this, how prejudiced the people were. I went to a little Catholic church. There was a little chapel. I even served altar boy there for about 10 years. And the white people sat on one side, and on this side, half of the white people, and then they had a petition for the other half, which was the Indians, And wow, it went on for years. And by the grace of God, guess who helped break that up? Me. Before I joined the Navy, one of the priests asked me to go serve up the road in the big white church. And I went there, and I went to the confessional, and in that big church was the same thing. They had a petition right in the middle. Indians sit on this side, and part of the others sit here, and all the white people sit on that side. So this was a cold morning. Oh my God, the white altar boys didn't want to go. So they got this little Indian boy to go serve Mass at the upper church on the Thursday morning. So I went to the confessional, and I got out of the confessional, and I guess the priest thought my sin was bad enough. He said, "You go up front and say your penance, whatever." So I went up front, and one of the ushers came and tapped me on the shoulder. "You go to the back where you belong." Are you kidding me? Go to the back. We'll sit in the back. I said, "I guess you don't know I came here to say altar boys this morning." And I got up from there, and I walked on the altar, went in the back room, put on my robe. They came back. He was just furious. There's a little Indian altar boy on this white altar with the priest. And man, they ran this priest out of town for letting a little Indian come and serve altar boy in the white church. Fortunately, they sent a dummy priest who was smart. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't prejudiced. They sent a priest named Michael Finnegan. And I told him about that experience, and he said, "We're going to take those bars down." Glory to God. He made them take those bars down, and everybody could sit wherever they wanted to sit, and it was all finished. It was all completely finished, and I was able to leave the church and go to a place where I was accepted for who I was. I didn't find any prejudice in the Navy as much as I did down where I lived, But where I lived, I mean, those that called themselves white, they would pass right in front of your house and never look. And they're walking, and they go further down, they live further down, and they would never look at you. And those that lived across the bayou from me, they would never look at you. You couldn't go to their dance halls, you couldn't go to anything they had. There was only one man on the bayou had a restaurant where everybody could go. One. And we'd go there. And then there was only one dance hall where we could go, but not too many white people went there. But there was a lot of prejudice, and all we knew is they called themselves white people. Come to find out they were Cajuns, you know. And we didn't know we had Cajun in us, you know. But nevertheless, there was all this prejudice. And then the Catholic Church put on this big activity about the boat blessing. And every year before the season, they'd have this humongous, beautiful boat blessing. They would everybody decorate their boats, the Indians, the whites. They'd float down the bayou together. But when it came to be judged for who would win the best boat, man, this big fight ensued. I mean, they were breaking trophies over each other's heads right in front of the Catholic Church. What that caused me to see, it wasn't a matter of just prejudice, you know, skin prejudice. It had a lot to do with pride, selfish pride. And it had a lot to do with lack of education in this direction or that direction. And then I think the best thing that could have happened to the bayou is when we had the civil rights bill passed. Everybody started going to the same stores, same church, same school, and then everybody would say, well, the Indians outnumber the whites now. That was irrelevant. It had nothing to do with it, you know. And today it's amazing. We just went to a dinner, a couple of weeks ago, where the Houmas put on this dinner in this big gymnasium. But everybody was there, of all shapes and sizes and colors, talking to one another, hugging one another. Praise the Lord. That's what I live for. Mm-hmm. And I was the first person on the bayou to bring the churches together to form an ecumenical council. And they recognized me enough to nominate me to be the master of ceremonies at their services. And I was the first one to bring a black congregation into the fold and got them to preach, you know, as coming together. And boy, I love those accolades when they patted me on the back. But
I mean, that's really, I mean, I would imagine that at any time that's not easy. But
it's a milestone,
then,
yeah.
You know, it's,
yeah.
Yeah, no.
But you have to be brave. I went into places where some of these self-righteous ministers won't go. There was a man, a black man, his family owned a nightclub, all black. And it was the same thing. People passed that up and down and not go there. I was the first one to go there and talk to him, and him and I talked just like brothers, you know, because I was told him about my Navy experience. It was because of that meeting at the ballroom that got me to visit their church for the first time and got them to come to the first ecumenical council meeting. And then we got together for the big meeting, the annual meeting. Mm-hmm. Because I was brave enough to go into a black ballroom where everybody said, you better not go there, they beat people up. They beat white people up, they beat Indian people up. I wasn't afraid. Yeah. I went. You have to have some boldness to go where nobody else will go. You have to be tough.
Yeah. I think that it's also making me think about how how important spaces are. The community center, knowing that that's been such an important place. And to be brave to open your doors. Also, and thinking about Mr. Roy and having to be brave to load up his car and go wherever he was going.
Wow.
And we heard stories about how there was like a co-op at one point in time. Mm-hmm. Can y'all share a little bit about those memories and what that co-op was? And
well, I'm the one that created the co-op.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one that created the arts and craft co-op for the Houmas. There were certain things that motivated me because my friend Roy, he was a classic guy. He was a hard worker. He worked on tugboats and he became captain and made big money and even crossed the ocean to go to Jamaica and all those places. But he got in a terrible wreck. He was severely injured. you know. And he was in the hospital for a long while, and he was sort of invalid for a long while, unemployed for a while. And remembering, I brought back all of the times together with the art, and I said, well, what about if I could create a job for you? You know, I said, I'm on the tribal council now. I'm chairman of the Louisiana Indian Housing Authority. I'm chairman of the bylaws committee. I said, I'm also secretary treasurer of the economic development committee. And I said, I could create a craft co-op, and you could manage this thing. You know, I don't know anything about it. I said, but you can learn it. You know, you can learn it. I said, I'll get somebody here that can teach it to you. You know. So, and again, the Methodist Church, like you said, bases or spaces, whichever word, same thing. Her pastor, him and I were close. He was all for he liked my ideas. So I asked him, I said, his name was Spiller. I said, Spiller, do you know anybody in your realm of ministry organizations that would be glad to come down and be instructive to us running a arts and craft co-op? He said, well, you guys have one? I said, no, not yet. I said, I want to create one. You know? So, yeah, he said, as a matter of fact, he said, I had a guy from the Mennonites contact me. They wanted to come down and volunteer, do anything for community building. Anything we want to do community building. I said, well, why don't you get somebody to come down and manage a co-op? I'll design it, and he can manage it and teach my friend Roy how to run it. And he said, that sounds like a great idea. So he got busy, and he brought, matter of fact, several volunteer organizations that wanted to come down. He let me select the ones I wanted. So I selected this man from Calgary, Canada. Him and his family came down and made their abode here. And he started managing this co-op that I created before he got there. And he built it up, buying craft from the Houma Indians. And Roy became a confidant, traveling with him to shows. And then when he had wanted to go home, he said, I think it's time you take it over, Roy. Guess what? My dream came true. Roy took it over. He became, director of the co-op. Mm-hmm. And then I also was on the board of the Dulac Community Center. So they were looking for a director. I said, well, why don't we just get Roy to take over the directorship? He can do both of these things, you know. Mm-hmm. And he had no idea I did all that. Mm-hmm. I didn't even tell him. Mm-hmm. And I proposed it. They offered him the job. They sent him to New York, became a New York Methodist. He was as gone as could be. And he came back. He said, he told me one day, he said, nobody but God could take me off this job.
And he's still at it.
No, the one day something went wrong, and God must have taken him off because he resigned. And he wouldn't tell us why he resigned. And he resigned from the co-op. So I took it over, and I tried to get, 100 other people to take it over. They wouldn't take it over. They said, we couldn't do that. And the reason was because Roy could sacrifice. You know, he made sacrifices. He wasn't married. He didn't have children, but he also sacrificed. We couldn't get anybody married to sacrifice. And most of the Indians want to be paid cash. You know, they didn't want to be paid with a check. I guess they wanted to cheat Uncle Sam or something. But it was the same thing with teaching. They were offered some of the workshops that I was offered. And they didn't want to do it because they wanted to be paid cash. I said, I'm not going to cheat the government. I can turn in my taxes. Mm-hmm. And so I took the job. It just fell in my lap, kept falling in my lap. And then what really did is when Hurricane Andrew came, and it just destroyed the community center, and he didn't have time to evacuate all of the crafts. Everything got damaged in the Hurricane Andrew. And I could see he didn't have any impetus to want to save anything because they were badly damaged, and I didn't blame him, you know. And Mr. Sawaki had already gone, And the tribe wasn't interested in rebuilding it, because it really wasn't all that profitable for the tribe yet, because what happened there was that the focus was too much on 3 or 4 individuals. My philosophy was trying to get all the kids involved, get as many involved, and try to develop the interest where they hold on to that interest rather than just a sample of it and then they go off and do something else. Not that you can make a great big career out of wood carving, but it can be a good supplemental income, in your spare time. You can really do something good with it. And the one thing that really blessed me the most to recognize is that the Bible says your gift opens doors for you, no matter what it is, no matter what you do. You don't have to be a PR person to go talk yourself to death trying to get a job. Just do your gift as an ouvrier, and it opens doors for you. You don't have to, we hardly have to do any salesmanship talk to anybody. It opens doors for you all the time.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Miss Virginia, I know that Dulac, from all of the interviews that we've been doing, Dulac seems to have something special going on there. There seems like most of the skills are really have been kept, with palmetto weaving. Not that it's not happening all across the Delta, but it seems like that bayou, it really has kept with those traditions. And I'm just, can you share some of the different kinds of skills that people have that you remember from your youth that your elders were practicing, and what kind of materials they were working with at that time?
My daddy used to carve like pirogues, and that's mostly what he did. I had aunts that did the palmetto weaving and made hats and placemats and fans and a lot of stuff like that. And one of my aunts had a daughter who is now doing some of the, and nieces, I think, are doing the weaving, the palmetto weaving. And they come from from the elders. And
Tell her about your daddy doing the blowguns too.
oh yeah, my daddy. Yeah, I forgot about that. He did blowguns too. He would go. They find some elderberry plants and try to get them as straight as he could, and that's what he would do with them. He'd clean them out and make blowguns with it. And he had stuff all over the the country, I guess.
Yeah. What was his name?
Antoine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Antoine,
And-
he's famous.
Yeah. He.
Yeah, he sold a lot of pirogues.
He sold a lot of people. He would. He had schools that I remember. There was one school that wanted pirogues for the one class, and he would make a whole bunch of them and send them to them. And I don't remember where the area was at, but if they were interested in something, he'd make pirogues for them and send them out to them.
Did he make bigger boats too? Was he?
No, I had an uncle who did the big boats.
Yeah.
One of my uncles, that he was a carpenter, and
He did beautiful work boats.
and he made big boats for fishermen, and his son, one of his sons.
2 of his sons.
Two of his sons were doing it. One passed away not too long ago, and the other one I don't know. I think he do a little carpenter work. I don't know if he does any boats anymore.
Were they building the boats out of wood?
Cypress.
Out of cypress wood. Yeah.
Cypress wood,
and
yeah.
What kind of a boat would it be? Like a
There were big boats that were somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 something feet long.
Oh, they were big. Yeah.
Big boats, yeah, and maybe 20 feet wide. And the cypress wood was popular because it was a rot-resistant wood. And it would also was flexible. You could bend it to make the curves of the boat. And they were something to see. They loved their work. They gave it all they had, and never been to school. Her uncle, but they would call every time somebody mentioned boat builder, they would mention her uncle. He's an ouvrier dans les bateaux. He's a
Oh yeah, he
he's
did a good job.
a boat craftsman,
What's his
master
name?
craftsman.
Lawrence,
Lawrence, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, Mr. Lawrence.
he was a Billiot too.
And
yeah.
his sons
The
followed
brothers.
just like their
My dad and
Yeah.
him
Okay.
were brothers. Yes.
Okay. And so how did you get introduced to the work that you do?
He taught me how to do the burning, and after that it was just natural to me. I did it, and I still, whenever something needed to be done, well, I would do it. And we haven't been doing it too much lately, but it's something that just sticks with you. You did it one time, you can do it and enjoy it, and yeah. And when I had a job when I was in Nashville, and when I'd get home and he was doing something and he needed burning, well, I would do it.
So when y'all moved to Nashville, you still kept up your craft and your.
Oh yeah, we did.
We kept up our craft and our language.
Yeah.
We talk French every day in Nashville. And even when strangers would come in the house, I would tell them something in French. What did you say?
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
And then I could witness and preach and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we talk French every day. We never let go of the French language. I love the French language. And the craft, I'm a person who doesn't like to overlook one detail. Every aspect of feeling good about something, I like to preserve it. And I think the reason she didn't know it, but she did good in wood burning, is the smell of burning wood. Native Americans used to burn wood a lot, for cooking and keeping warm and everything, and it brings the memory of your past. I remember when we were small, we used to light fires in the garden all the time, and then run all over the place because we loved the smell of the fire. Well, what makes the fire? The wood burning, the burning wood, But and when you're burning this stuff, it does smell. Sometimes you have to put a fan to blow the smoke away so it doesn't mess up your eyes. But the smell of wood burning is already there. And she jumps on it like a duck to water. And it's because of her Indian roots. She'd been around wood, her uncles. The neighborhood smelled like wood, Her dad was doing wood all the time. And like she said, her aunts were the palmetto and everything. The one thing that seems to be in jeopardy right now is the supply of the materials. Cypress was plentiful in those days. Palmetto was plentiful in those days. The elderberry was plentiful in those days. And like I said about the birds, one thing that has me concerned now is when I go down is I don't see too many birds. And I'm thinking maybe that that fire on the big oil rig that blew up brought all that contamination in and destroyed a lot of the vegetation, a lot of bad chemicals, and birds don't want to feed anymore. You don't see too many pelicans. Every once in a while there's an open spot where the water's fresh and you see a cormorant wanting to eat fish. But since we've been back, I was surprised that the oak trees survived here in New Orleans. But we went up and down every bayou trying to capture what is left of what used to be. And it's really sad. It's heartbreaking. Because there's no more red berries. Yip on holly. Very, very few, maybe one or two pieces here and there. You see one. All kind of flowers. We used to have a little flower. We used to call it the Easter grass. It was just beautiful little green leaves with purple little flowers. And they used to tell us at Easter time, go pick up the Easter grass to put in your basket. The rabbit's going to put more candy. We believed that, beloved, you know, but it was good, like believing in Santa Claus, you know. But what you didn't die in you was the beauty of this beautiful little grass. And I took a picture of some last year. We found, since we've been back, it's the only time we've seen some, on 4 Point Road, way back out there. But you don't see any of that. A lot of the good stuff, you know, that, wow, materials. There used to be, what do you call it, muscadine or muscadine? There used to be a lot of that, fruits, you know. Blackberries, oh my God, that's my favorite sport. Guys like to hunt ducks, I like to hunt blackberries. Took my kids, every one of my kids, I taught them how to hunt. Blackberries. And before we left, we used to have our spot. And I couldn't believe that I found this untouched spot one day. This vine, blackberry vine, took over some trees and it just arched around. And it was so well hidden by the trees, the birds didn't see it. They weren't eating it. The worms weren't eating it. And the blackberries got that big. And my God, I thought I was in heaven. I pushed the grass and I thought, I couldn't believe this. As I started screaming, come here, quick, bring the buckets. Oh, well, we got some over here. No, you want these. bring these. And they couldn't believe it. It's beautiful arch full of big blackberries. We must have filled about 5-gallon cans out. Once in a lifetime thing, you know, from the area. Another time we hit a jackpot. You got to hear this. Bunch of ladies from church. By that time we were Pentecostals, you know, believe in the Holy Ghost, and the ladies wear long dresses. So we decided we was going to go on a hunting trip one Saturday morning for blackberries. So we loaded up the vans with church ladies with long dresses. And we got 4 or 5 men. We get out there in the blackberry patch. Next thing you know, you start hearing screaming, ow, ow, ow! What's going on? Fire ants jumped all over them. They're already up the long dresses, and they're doing that. And they're trying to help one another. They got ants everywhere, jumping on everybody. And the men are just they're killing themselves laughing. And they're mad at us because we're laughing, but they couldn't get rid of the ants. And there's the berries everywhere. This was unforgettable experience. But it's not like that anymore. Blackberries are hard to find. Every type of blackberry that we used to find is not there anymore. Bulrushes, they're hard to find.
Did y'all know people who used bulrush as a weaving material or in any kind of other way? Have you ever heard about that?
That's what really one of the saddest things, that bulrush, everybody said it's not good for anything. You know, wasn't strong enough. Like they would use bamboo to make needles for mending nets, you know, or building a trawl, you call it, making a net that was strong. You couldn't make a needle out of a bulrush, but by the time you got the twine wrapped around, the thing would split, you know. So that's why they say it's good for nothing. I've never seen anybody use it for anything.
What about cattails? Have you ever seen any work, anybody weave or do anything?
No.
No, there's still a lot of cattails.
Yeah.
Depending on low areas, it seems to me that cattails, they breathe on contaminated areas, maybe for waste, you know, waste stuff, like you find them along canals and stuff like that. So they may be intended to help take some of this wave into the environment, you know, out of the way, because Other than that, they don't serve any purpose. Sherry likes them. She's got some right here
Yeah, they're cool.
for decoration. Yeah.
I did those. We went down the bayou one day and I just chopped them up. And then I got home, took hairspray and spray on it and let it dry. And that's why they're still
They're
like
beautiful.
that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're plentiful.
I just, is the sound okay with the air conditioner? It's been coming on and off. Oh, okay, I just noticed it for this one. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure it's like, all of this is such, it's so informative and interesting, and you've seen so much, you know, and I'm just wondering, where have you been able to share your work, and is it a gallery space or museum or festivals, and also, you know, this piece about what you can sell and those markets, like what have been the best places for you
Yeah.
to have your work to be able to move it in
Uh,
any way?
We've enjoyed going to craft shows. We've had individual craft shops wanting to feature our work. We've been to festivals, big festivals. That's been good. We've been to Jazz Fest. We did Jazz Fest a few times. One of the best markets was that we had a lady who owned a store in Helen, Georgia. Helen, Georgia was a unique little town. Was like a Scandinavian design, German motif type of town. Every building, if you built there, you had to build it like that. But this lady, Miss Ruth Lammer, she owned a Native American craft shop in Helen, Georgia. They built a house in Helen, Georgia. Her husband was a rich enterpriser. He had a ball bearing factory. They manufactured ball bearings. They had a lot of money. She had 14 children. They built a 15-bedroom house in Helen, Georgia, 3 stories high, and invited us to go and stay there whenever we wanted. And she came to look for us. Her and 2 other ladies from Cherokee drove down, heard about her, came and found us in Dulac. And we had just been at a show at the Nature Center here, didn't sell a thing, and they showed up with money and they bought everything we had. And they wanted us to go to Helen, Georgia. So we started going there annually. And it was such a pleasure. She would always order stuff, and she ordered this huge Canadian goose, paid us $1,000 for it, bought a few others for $500, and put some on order at the same time. Was worth the trip. And then we'd also visit Koala Co-op Arts and Craft in Cherokee, North Carolina. A nice lady there, Miss Dupree, Betty Dupree. They would buy from us. So it was a good, worthwhile trip. There was another couple that lived in Gatlinburg that would buy from us. So just shops. And Roy and I spent many trips going back and forth there. And he got to sell some of his stuff there. And he brought other people from here to sell stuff there. Great connection.
Yeah.
Probably the best connection we had.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about your stories is how it's your connections locally, and also friends, strangers who come into your life who help lift up an idea,
Yeah.
or help to, and just thinking about young people. You know, I wonder if you have any suggestions about how, you know, whether it be individuals or the tribe or the state or the federal government, you know, do you have any recommendations or suggestions or ideas of how, you know, when, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when you were making your work, what could have helped to lift you up so that you could have even gone further than you did, or
Yeah.
for that young artist who's kind of feeling a little bit like they don't know where or how to move forward. Yeah, just if you have any suggestions that could help support people.
Boy, I'd be interested to hear what she got to say there.
Well, you do the talking because I can't think of anything right now.
Uh, that's why I love my daughter Sherry. You like that word marketing? Um, she she just fell to that word like a duck to water. Um, one thing in all those years of carving, in all those years of playing music, and everything I've done, we used to have a shrimp boat too. We used to shrimp together. We had our own boat. We used to go out and catch shrimp. We did that for a number of years. Right after, as soon as we got together, she went from a daycare teacher to a deckhand on the boat. But one of the things that plague you a lot is pricing. That is the hardest thing that I've ever encountered, is pricing whatever you do, having the right price for it. Like the Bible says, a workman is worthy of his wages. But you encounter a lot of corrupt people who want to take advantage of you, that don't want to pay what you're worth or what your work is worth. And then on the other hand, sometimes, like, let's say for instance, like the Ogden here, if I have a duck for $750, they want to sell it for $1,500, 100% markup. In some places, like in Cherokee, that was a high markup because that's all they did. They want to make 100% of what you make. You put in all the work, and they put it on their shelf doing nothing, and they make as much as you. But you take like the Ogden, it's a different story. The Ogden provided worldwide advertisement, worldwide recognition. It's worth giving up that 100% for you to get the recognition. And the Ogden has done, awful job for me, And they put my collection right up front at the door for people to see. You can't buy that kind of advertisement. That's advertising dollars, Whereas in Cherokee, they put it in a glass case and everything, amidst hundreds of other items that don't mean much, And if you have to pay for your gas to go there, your eats, your hotels, and you sell for $500, well, by the time you leave, you broke again. So you have to have a mathematic head trying to figure out how you're going to make that work profitably for you. You got to be smart in arithmetic. Bang.
Got to make those crazy eights.
Yeah, I had to catch that up in the Navy. I had to catch that up.
Yeah. And just for the record, for the recording, I'm just going to say that it's the Ogden Museum of SouthernArt where your work is currently on view.
On view, right?
That has
Right.
been such a
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that another question that I had was you were talking about the materials. Where are you getting your materials from today? When I don't know how much carving you've been doing lately, but or where over the course of your career, how have you been finding the material that you use for your work?
In the beginning, it was easy. Everybody wanted to carve. Everybody wanted to cut carving wood. One of the major suppliers that told me the biggest drawback they have now is that they used to cut wood on private land, so they had to have a right or permission or lease a part to cut wood on private ownership land, and that's become harder and harder to do and more costly. So pricing of the materials has gone up fairly high. So then you have to do some more arithmetic. Like the $5 duck we used to do before, we couldn't do that anymore because it wouldn't be feasible because of the cost of wood. But thankfully, you still can find wood. And before you would hear it by word of mouth. But now with the internet, you just buy a wood carving magazine and you can find wood all around the country, and you can get bargains all around the country. And then you can be wise. You can go to a show there, and while you're there, you can buy some wood. So all the gas mixes together.
What's your favorite kind of wood to work with?
The wood?
Your favorite that you like the favorite kind of wood you like to work with?
Well, that'll give you an insight into my stubbornness. When I first started out, boy, I wanted to carve with cypress because my dad told me Mr. Berg used to carve cypress, And everybody's telling me, you need Tupelo gum. And I said, no, I don't want I don't want to deal with Tupelo gum. I must have carved 3 or 4 years with cypress, silly because of stubbornness, And when I got introduced to Tupelo gum, a real kind fella took the time to sell it to me. Now, this is how you become a good salesman. Somebody has to lay out all the features to something and then convert it into a benefit. I learned that in selling cars in Nashville. At Chrysler, I became a registered Chrysler salesman. And that's how you become a successful salesman. They sold me the wood the same way. They said Tupelo has no knots in it. It is soft but sturdy. It sands real good. You can sand it fast rather than, they said basswood is real good, but forever it takes to sand it. And then they said it absorbs paint well. Wow. Everything you want in a wood is in Tupelo. Well, it converted me just like that. And I've been buying Tupelo ever since. Now, I've done some hardwoods. I'm the other extreme. What other guys don't want to do, I'll do it. See, nobody wants to carve with hardwood because hardwood is too hard. Well, I looked at my mama one night and doing something, and I said, hey, you can put the wood in hot water and it'll soften it, So I started buying walnut, and I'll get me a big long square pot, boil the water, and then I'll soak it for about 5 minutes, put it out in the air, and tomorrow it's nice and soft. The hardwood. You might lose some coloration, but it's nice and soft. So you can carve with hardwood. And I like carving with hardwood, not to paint, but if you want a natural, beautiful finish, the hardwoods are better for that. Now the Tupelo, if you want to do wood burning, you can't beat it. If you want to paint good, you can't beat it. If you want to sand and do a lot of them real quick, you can't beat it. If you want to enjoy carving, you can't beat it. Beautiful. So basically, that's my favorite wood. I just bought some recently, and pretty nice looking wood. But I can't find it in my area. But I came to a show here in across the lake last September, and bought some from a guy out west Louisiana, and real nice wood. Then I found out there's another guy in Pineville, and they're everywhere. And my son said there's some in Florida. I found some places in Florida where I can get it. So as long as we can get it, sometimes the price is high, but it's worth it. But sometimes, if you're going to raise the price up, you better have a good reason to justify it. But that's one of my things. And I know you might be in a hurry to go home, but let me just tell you this. She and I worked at the same hotel in Nashville, Opryland Hotel. And I worked there front desk. I mean, I had all kinds of jobs. I became the guest services agent there. And the rooms, they had what would you call them, suites, as high as $3,500 a night. Average room would cost you about $239 a night, regular small room. And you had to be able to sell that to people. And people would come and they would complain and complain and complain and complain. And about the hotel, everything that could possibly go wrong, they'd complain. So here comes this guy one day, and they hired him. He had a program called Up the Value. Up the Value. And his thing was that he found everything that was wrong, and he took every department. He had a session with every different department. And he would come out and he would throw you $100 bill, or he'd throw you a small TV, or throw you a basketball, and everyone, what's going on here? This guy throwing money away. They're like, and he said to them, you know, I could have talked all this while here. He said, talk till I was blue in the face to teach you what you need to learn. He said, you wouldn't have listened. He said, by me doing that, it's all if I put a smile on your face, and I raised the value of your attitude. I raised the value of your attitude. Now you can listen to about the things about the hotel, how important it is to raise the same thing with the hotel. And he walked around with a camera on his, you know, on his hat, and he photographed everybody doing their job. And he used me in comparison to another guy who was a supervisor. He said, look at this guy. The line is in front of him, and they got 20 other agents here. And every time they see the line moving fast, they go to his line. Why? He's got a smile on his face. He's talking to people while he's working, and he's lifting up their spirits. And here's the other ones like, they're there. You know, and nobody wants to get in that line, you know. And the guy, the bellman, when people would get in the elevator, oh, you don't want to go over there. The line is a mile long, which was not true, you know. They're devaluing the hotel. And all I did was spend time upgrading the hotel. Man, this hotel has this, has that, blah, blah, blah. And he taught us that, to up the value, how to up the value of things. And I do that with everything now. I do that with my work. I do that with our marriage. I do that with her cooking. I do that with everything. I do that in church. I do that in the music. I found new avenues in how to raise the music up and how you can do this better. It's all about better. And I'll close with this if you don't mind. I heard the most wonderful little tongue twister. Have you ever heard of Betty Baker? She said, Betty Baker bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my butter batter, it'll make my butter batter bitter. But if I buy some better butter, it'll make my bitter batter butter better. I preach that all the time. Better is more. See, better is more than more being better. Just raise the value up. And I found that when you raise the value up, you have all those ingredients like the Ouvrier stuff and everything's in there. People don't mind paying. People didn't mind paying for a $3,500 room. They had a baby grand piano in there, had a big round bed. They had 7 other rooms in there for you to do your computer work and everything. It was nice and clean. And guess what? They hired her, because she married a better guy, to clean all these suites. And she learned the same thing. She bragged about cleaning suites. I mean, there were, I don't know how many people in your staff, quite a few hundred people that worked in housekeeping.
Over 200.
Over 200.
When we started.
Yeah.
When we first went there. Throughout the whole hotel, there was about 5,000 people. It was like a little city right there in the hotel.
Wow.
But she doesn't talk the talk, but she walk the walk. And everything she does, she ups the value. And that's what she was doing at her work, on her job.
On the ducks.
No, not on the ducks. The hotel was harder than the ducks.
No, but just those little details, how it makes, you know, and it is something that's repetitive, and, you know, but I think that, you know, to that master craft, you know, it's like you do something over and over again, and how it becomes
It's
almost a meditation or a
yes.
prayer, and it calms you down, and it's hard work all at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
But you don't want it to become boring. See,
Yeah.
Right.
that's where up the value comes in.
Yeah.
You have to remind yourself, I do this repetitively, but it has this value to it, you know. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you one more thing here. At Apperland, this is the most memorable thing that I ever experienced. This one lady came in, and she was there for a week at $650 a night. And she had all she had with her was her little son. I think he was 7 years old. And she called for breakfast to be brought to her room one morning and wanted pancakes and syrup for her young son. And what they call room service. They dropped the ball. They forgot to bring the pancakes and the syrup. So this lady waits till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to come to guest services desk with watashi. Watashi is Japanese word for me. and she complained to all the other ones. They didn't know what to do at the front desk. There are 2 big front desks, about 20 people here and 20 people there. I'm sitting in the middle on a round island by myself handling all this stuff. And she came to me, and she was furious. She was absolutely furious. She was about to blow her top and blow the top off the roof. And I said, who did that? She said, room service. I said, just 1 second, if you don't mind. I got on the phone, called room service. Room service, this is John, guest services. I want pancakes and syrups here in 5 minutes. Bam. They had pancakes and syrup in 4 minutes, right there. And I got out by myself, and I brought the tray. I said, where you want me to put this, man? You want me to take it to your room for you? When it was supposed to be the bellman or somebody else, I'll be glad to bring it to the room for you. What else could I do for you? With a smile. She took it and shrugged her shoulder and went. But I handled it. Gave it some value. Gave this mad lady, she was mad. And I got her to calm down. Then the next day, she come back with a comment card. She said, if they had people like you here, this hotel would make money. That's value. Yeah. That's giving value. I'd like to see that with everything we do in wood carving, teaching in the schools, preaching in the churches, rock and rolling and playing music, whatever we do. I'd like to see that. And it's so simple to do.
Yeah.
Simple thing to do. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. Is there anything else that you would like to add that I didn't ask, that you would think it was important for the next generations to know? I mean, and in thinking about, your children, and I imagine you got some grandchildren.
Yeah, we got 8. 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
Yeah, so just thinking, say we're, 80 years down the road and they're talking about their great-grandparents, you two. What do you hope that they remember about you and your life? And
The respect, because that's gone, it seems like. Nobody respects anybody nowadays, especially the young people. There's so much craziness going around, and to me, we were brought up with, you need to respect your elders. Mm-hmm. And even your parents, you respect your parents. And that's how everybody was brought up when we were growing up. I remember my dad, I was 18 years old, and we were all talking in the living room. My daddy was sitting in the corner, and we were all talking. And he said something, and I said something back, and he misunderstood me. He thought I had told him he was lying. He just got up and I was standing up by the door, and he came and just whacked me on the side of the bed. He said, nobody disrespect me like that. Nobody tells me I'm lying, especially if you're living in my house. And I said, I told him, I didn't tell him. I was telling everybody. But that's the way he took it. And I said, well, you know what? That was a lesson to me. I just had to be careful what I say or how I say it. So if everybody was like that, there'd be more respect for the people, for each other, And I even that slap, it hurt for a little while, but I said, well, I know how to respect my dad more. Not that I disrespected him, but I found out I got to watch what I say or how I say it, But they all loved us, and it was for that reason, because he loved us so much that we showing respect to him, And said, that's going out the door, it seems like sometimes. But that's what we tried to teach our kids, growing. Respect the others, respect for what everybody believes, and we don't all agree on everything, But at least let them believe whatever they want, but unless if it's wrong, it's wrong, well, you should say something. But still in all, we tried to bring our kids up the right way and show respect for others. And I think we did a good job.
Yeah, everybody brags on our kids. My biggest concern is I made a mistake today. I took him for a girl, good-looking girl. But I didn't mean to, but that's because of my blindness. But I am really disturbed about this woke challenge thing, and I think that the biggest fundamental failure with that is one thing. They're praying, and I don't mean pray like that. I'm talking about like hawks trying to take over somebody's life, because they know that those young people have not found their own personal identity yet. I've seen that at tribal levels, from very young, that the older boys will try to pin you with an identity that's not yours. They would try to pin something on you that's not yours. And it was very troubling, and then they would bully you into it, or try to bully you into it if you didn't go to your mom and your dad. I think a lot of that is happening today. Kids are not going to mom and dad, and mom and dad don't have any idea that children are being bullied like that or being influenced like that. That's why church is so important. That's what I feel about what I was saying about the podcast. I can reach more people if I can talk to more people, because in church you got too much politics involved. People are in church with their ears closed, and the poor child is the one that suffers the most, because mom and dad is not hearing what is being preached to form that identity within the children, to make a stand. Children need to have an early idea of what they want to be, what they want to do, and what they're going to resist. And mom and dad needs to be the helper. They don't need to be the weak guy in that equation. But what we want to do with this, taking it to the streets, and I want to be able to say, hey, you. You may not know it, but I'm your brother. Like the Dewey brothers. You may not know, but I'm your brother, and I'm here to tell you, hey, there's love involved in here. You're not alone. That's the message. You're not alone. And people that prey on kids to try to sway into a different choice of identity, is they know that child's alone. They know that child is weak. They know that person is undecided, so to speak. That's the word. It might be a strong person, but undecided. And you have to give them some building blocks. Kind of like I was with the wood carving. I was stuck with cypress until somebody solidified an understanding. Hey, you need a better, stronger wood. You know, I took on the identity of, hey, I'm a Tupelo carver now. You know, I can carve better stuff. I can make more money. I wasn't doing that with cypress. Well, it's the same thing with the identity for children. Yeah. We need to work on children's identity. We need to get them up the value.
Would you be interested in doing some sort of virtual kind of learning or teaching of carving? Is that something that you've ever thought about, or to do little lessons that could be recorded and shared? Is that something that you've ever experimented with or thought about? It's a little different than a podcast, but you know, a way to share. Because I'm just thinking back to the young people, that they don't really have a lot of access to learning palmetto weaving or carving. And so just, I don't know how you feel about technology or that as a tool to teach. I mean, it's used in a lot of different ways, but is that something you would be interested in?
Well, I think so. I'll tell you why. Back in church up in Nashville that I used to be in, some prophet, that's my calling, the office of the prophet. But some other prophet came to me and told me, he said that God was going to use me to teach those that needed to be taught with visuals, with visual compositions of a lot of different things. I eat and sleep that every night, creating different ideas. That would be one of them, you know. But I believe that can happen. I believe you can talk to people for this reason. A picture paints 1,000 words. See? If you can find the right word, the right picture. Create something and show it to them. Step by step. Don't have too many steps, but make it very logical. You know, very, very logical. It can be wood carving. It can be painting. It can be simple things, teaching somebody how to cook something, a certain thing that nobody's ever heard of before. But make like say for instance, like I tell her all the time, make it look like you were in some fancy restaurant. You know, you don't have to cook supper and just throw stuff on the table. We go and we pay $60, $70 for a meal over there. We can do that over here for $13 with the same candles, you name it. You know, up the value, up the value. Get a better tablecloth. Get some prettier looking candles. You know, you can teach that on a podcast or a TV, but in quick, short forms. Remember the old what was the
Bob Ross?
No, not Bob Ross. The guys that oh my God. Well, you had Hee Haw, but you had the other guys. But they would do quick segments. Quick segments would be better than a whole lot of long talking.
Yes.
You don't need the long rifles to get the message that needs to get out. That's what I'm thinking. Matter of fact, the other day I was thinking of a ventriloquist. You know, this lady that won America's Got Talent. She's pretty good. But I have a friend in mind. I have a friend that I met in Nashville. His name is Uriel Simpson. And Uriel inspired me to write a song about America. And he wasn't even a soldier, you know, about one or two statements, you know. And Uriel would always have this saying, if somebody was wrong about anything, he would say, "Oh, you crazy man." I thought, man, that would be a good title for my program. You simply say you're going in the wrong direction, you know. And another preacher said, guy asked for direction to go somewhere, and the guy said, well, yeah, just go down the road here. You'll get right to New Orleans. He got on the road and walked and walked and walked. He never got to New Orleans. He went back and said, hey, man, you gave me the wrong direction. He said, no, I didn't. He said, you're on the right road, just going the wrong way. That's what we need to tell people. You might be on the right road, but going the wrong way, you know. And you're doing the right thing, but the wrong way. Same thing. You have the right ambition, but you're not going in the right direction doing it, you know. We need to simplify that. We could do that with quick compositions of little skits here and there, different tools. It could be wood carving, it could be painting, it could be music. I told this guy in Florida, I said, I've learned a new way how to play the piano. He said, how's that? I said, I can play with 3 hands. What? I said, yeah, I can play with 3 hands. How can you do that? You only have 2. I said, well, I got this foot pedal. I can press it, and it'll hold what I did with 2 hands, and then bring in the 3rd hand. I never thought of that. Well, that's why I'm telling you, because I thought of it. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I really would like to preach to children. And I don't mean babies, but I'm talking about, hey, when I was 8 years old, I was crossing the bayou in pirogues. And I was going to the grocery store for everybody in the neighborhood would give me a nickel or a dime. And it wasn't a great idea because pirogues would leak sometimes. And you go to the store, they put stuff in a paper bag. You bring the paper bag to the pirogue, you put it there. By the time you crossed over, all the bags are wet, and then you have to get all these items one at a time, you know. Why didn't somebody think of a basket, right? Indians were smart enough to think about baskets. I was smart enough to cross the pirogue, but not smart enough to figure out the basket thing. That's what I'm talking about, stuff like that. But I started crossing the bayou in the pirogue at 6 years old. In front of tugboats, pushing barges, shrimp boats, passing by big shrimp boats. Then you had to fight the wind. Sometimes you get caught right when a squall is coming. You know, 6 years old. What mama would let a child 6 years old cross the bayou in a pirogue today, right? My mama did. She trusted me, and she made sure that she trusted me. She said, "If you don't go, I got this switch over here. You better get going." But that's a long answer for your question. But yeah, I think that's what a good operators of cameras and technology could do. I'm all for technology. Big screen visual, you know, and narrate this stuff. And number one thing is not to be the genius, to be the simple man, to be the what was the old guy that used to be the cook? Justin Wilson. You know, and I told that to this guy from Peru one time. He asked me, he said, "You're not Justin Wilson?" And I said, "No, I'm not. Why?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I like to watch you eat." He said, "Man," he said, "everybody else sits down to eat, they're like pigs." He said, "You sit down, but you put the paper here and you wipe your mouth at every bite." And he said, "And you wipe the bottle and you spick and span." And he said, "I love to watch you eat." And then one day he came and he said, "Brother John," he said, I got one question I got to ask you. He said, "You say you're a preacher." He said, how could you drink beer during your meal?" He said, "You're a preacher." I burst out laughing. I said, "It's root beer." He wasn't convinced. "Here, taste. Barks root beer. Here, taste." When he took a taste, he said, "Oh, I'm so ashamed." I'm so ashamed. Well, I made it clear for him, right? Thank God he had the boldness to ask, you know. But I had the boldness to give him a good answer. Taste and see. It's root beer. It's not liquor. It's not alcohol. He said, "Man," he said, "I see you drink 5 of them one day." I said, "Yeah, I love root beer." But it's not alcohol. That's my answer.
This has been so sweet, and I'm so, I feel really honored to listen to your stories, and I feel like we could have a whole session or series. So I think we're good. Yeah.
We want we're going to leave them mic'd, and we want to
Did I cut this off or something? No, I did.
No, you're good.
It's still on.
It's good. Yeah, just to say hello. My name is, and I'm originally from Dulac or something like that. Whatever feels comfortable.
Okay. Go ahead.
You go first. I can learn from you. You go first.
Bonjour. Mon nom c'est Virginia Billiot et je viens de Dulac, la Louisiane. Et à je reste à Nouvelle-Orléans, la Louisiane.
Bon.
Moi, je l'aime parler français, mais je ne connais pas comment bien on parle aujourd'hui. But mon nom, c'est Jean-Antoine Parfait en français. En anglais, c'est John Anthony Parfait. J'ai été né dans la Nouvelle-Orléans et où je reste aujourd'hui. But j'ai été né, élevé en bas dans les bayous. C'était un bayou qui s'appelait Bayou Dulac. Jolie petite place. Et je peux vous dire que Dulac, c'est pas un mauvais nom. C'est à l'envers, ça mène lac doux. Ça mène Sweet Lake. Et c'est pour ça, je dis en français, Dulac. Ça, c'est là qu'on a élevé tous nos enfants. Moi, Madame Virginie, on a 7 enfants. Ils sont tous grands, tous. Ont été éduqués dans la Louisiane. Et à ce elles sont tout partout. Ils sont scattered tout partout. Au Texas, au Tennessee, dans la Floride. Et nous autres, on a resté à Nashville pour 24 ans. On a délogé back ici à la Nouvelle-Orléans. Et on est à la maison.
Joli.
Joli.
Merci beaucoup.
À votre service. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have other elders that you're able to speak French with?
My sisters,
Yeah.
they all speak French.
I have a brother, still alive. I had 3 brothers, 6 sisters. I got 4 of my sisters gone. I still have 2 sisters. They speak French. And my one brother left. He speaks French. I have a nephew who, like I say, he's Baroque. You know, he speaks broken French, but he understands it because his mom and dad used to speak it. Most of my nephews and nieces speak the French, and most of the communities down there still speak the French. And when we get down there, it's just like turning an engine on, you know. When we get among other people, it's a little Baroque too, you know, it's broken and.
Other French speakers.
Yeah, not absolutely sure, but you want to be perfect and you didn't study the book. So there's room to learn. There's a lot. That's another thing I'd like to do with the program is it'd be a learning thing, you know, and emphasize, hey, I'm learning with you, you know. I'm not just a teacher. I am learning with you. Because that's the way I taught wood carving. Like I said, I knew nothing at the beginning. And I quickly got some books, you know, quickly got books and, wow, talked to people. They taught me things that, oh, I can put a workshop together. I got enough information from this book and from those guys, I can do a workshop. You know, pull it. Wow, it was a sensation. But you have to have fellowship with people. You know, you have to talk to people. You have to ask questions, both questions. And you don't worry about looking stupid. Stupid is a good thing when they're going to make you not stupid, you know. That's the best attitude to have. Hey, I don't know anything. Tell me something, you know, rather than I know everything and you don't know nothing. That's the way you learn things. Yeah. And the Bible is like that. It's full of lessons. Oh, my, it got all kinds of lessons. I mean, the ways to act. I'll never forget this. I got to tell you, this is so funny. As a minister, I went to do a prayer meeting way down the bayou. I mean, way, way, way down the bayou. And as a musician, you know, you gotta be good to play with me. So I go way down the bayou, and here comes. We get there. There's nobody because it's a cold night. It's way down there, There's only the husband and the wife and one guest. An old man with one tooth. He brought in his guitar with one string. And he starts playing in one key. Et le bon Dieu est bon, et mon suis là pour le lever, et mon vadé. But what was the lesson? Humility. I think my teeth must have just went down a few centimeters and then.
How did you learn how to play music?
Huh?
How did you learn how to play music?
Self-taught. I ordered the piano course through the mail. Guitar, pretty much the same. Learned how to play the guitar. I played the guitar. I played the bass. I played the drums. Broke my leg in the Navy and had to learn how to rehabilitate my leg. So I got my friend's drums. Started learning how to play the drums. I can play drums. I've got a keyboard that's got everything on it. It's got drums. It's got bass now. It's got layered instruments. You press a button. You got an orchestra. You got anything you want. You got a beat. Got an equalizer on it. You can turn it up. You can be a one-man band. And they hear me all the time. My neighbor, I brought him over one time when I was playing, and he came over, but he said, I can hear you. He's sitting on the porch here. I'm in the back. I can hear you. I said, that's what music is all about, made to be heard. One more thing. We played a gig one time for the Jefferson Parish kids, graduation day. We played Fontainebleau. There were two other bands on site at Fontainebleau State Park. And we had equipment that had two bass speakers, 18-inch woofers, 800 watts of power. I had two cabinets with 6 12-inch speakers and tweeters with 500 watts of power. My rhythm player had two cabinets with 4 12s with 400 watts of power. And we had a PA with 900 watts of power. And I was the only singer. They weren't harmonizing, but they were good musicians. So we started playing during the afternoon around 2 o'clock. Within an hour, we're getting complaints. Here comes the ranger. He said, man, we're getting calls from everywhere. The band's too loud. I said, well, we could hear them over there. They're just as loud as us. He said, no, y'all louder than them. So about an hour later, here comes another ranger. He said, man, y'all going to have to turn it down. He said, man, y'all are loud. But he said, I can't force you to. But at 6 o'clock, you're going to have to shut it down. It's too loud. Here come the other two bands. Said, man, we can't hear ourselves. We might as well come and listen to y'all play. The ranger says, look, he said, I went down to the yacht basin, 15 miles away. And he said, I could hear Brown Sugar. And people are dancing on the yachts to Brown Sugar. That's how loud we were playing. So ask me if I like rock and roll. Right there.
Nice.
So
we'll have to get you to play sometime.
Anytime. Matter of fact, we're planning a gospel jam session. We'd like to invite you guys to come.
Okay.
This guy, this lead guitar player, I was 33 and started a band with them when they were 16 and 17. And it was a hard rock band, you know. We played metal, heavy metal. But they broke up and started their own band. Now this young guy here, he started a band called the Treaters.
Oh, okay.
And they've been together 40 years. And he's the best lead player I know anywhere. And he came and did the memorial of our son with me. And wow. And he saw what we could do together now, because he's much more, he's learned a lot more, and so have I. But we put together some music for that memorial. It was unbelievable music. And he has a sister that sings. And he talked to some guys the other day that's played with me, and they want to put an ensemble together to do a gospel jam of heavy stuff. And that's when we could use a podcast.
Hey, and a video.
And video. and certainly put it together. My ministry, you're not taping this, huh? My ministry has been very successful